Welcome to the Draw Shop's Get Genius podcast, where we talk to today's business influencers to pick their brain and pull out their genius. It's time to get genius.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to another Get Genius podcast. Today is going to be a super fun show, and it's with one of my very, very best friends. Her name is Kelsey Holohan, and she has such an incredible transformation story. It's an experience really that she's gone through, and just it's been about a year now, maybe just over a year, and I wanted to have her on the show because a lot of us make excuses for reasons that we can't make changes in our life, or wanting something but then saying, oh, but I don't have enough time, or I don't have the resources. And there are, an endless list of excuses that we can make and we can actually abide by if we allow ourselves to. And Kelsey's really an example of somebody who had a need, wanted to make a change, and freaking executed like a badass. And she's been killing it since. And her story is just so inspiring because it really is so recent as this past year. And she's really changed her life, the life of her kids, and many other lives as well. I think that there can be a stigma around multi-level marketing, and that's changing as we are starting to see, which is awesome because it really gives people who want to be an entrepreneur, it really gives them a way to be entrepreneurial without having to make a huge monetary investment. And Kelsey talks about this on this show. And I want to let her tell the story. I don't want to give anything away. There's so many takeaways and golden nuggets that I really hope you just run with and get inspired by, because it's coming from a person who's just so beautiful inside and out, so authentic, and just a joy to listen to. So please enjoy this interview. Kelsey, you are on the Get Genius podcast.
Yay, I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited. Because A, you are one of my very, very dear close friends. Mm-hmm. And B, I've just been watching you kill it for a while now. And I knew that our listeners had to hear your story because it's totally inspiring. And I think there's so many things that you've gone through in the past couple of years that are really going to resonate with them. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah.
So
thank you.
I want to start with Kelsey, like 15 years ago. What were you doing? And then we'll kind of speed up to where we are now.
Okay. All right. 15 years ago, I kind of have to do the math for a moment. Where was I? Well, after I graduated college, which was longer than 15 years ago, I went straight into teaching. And that was my calling. It's not just something that I thought would be fun to do, but I really felt drawn to education and working with kids. And so 15 years ago, I was in the beginning of my teaching career, and, I've always been a really driven person. So even as a teacher, I was, volunteering for committees and doing presentations, and was just really, really satisfied doesn't even cover it, like just inspired and fulfilled by what I was doing.
That's awesome. So what was it that, in the last couple of years that kind of made you think, you know what, maybe I'm going to add something, shift a little bit and do something different?
Like add a whole nother job to my plate?
Exactly.
Yeah, because that's always a good idea. So actually, it really stemmed from, I became a single mom, went through a divorce, and have 3 small, awesome children, 6, 8, and 10. And I really wanted to give them more in life. That's what made me stop and think where I am is not where I want to be right now. And, it was financial. I had been, teaching for many, many years. I have a decent salary. I have, good healthcare coverage. I'm very lucky. But that salary that I was making as an educator was enough to get by. It was enough to feed and clothe my children, but it wasn't enough to let them go to a summer camp. It wasn't enough to, let all three of them play a sport. I was having to like pick and choose. Well, okay, James is doing something now, so the other two can't do anything. And that was just unacceptable to me. I didn't want to have to choose all the time. Or for example, I remember one month, I think it was November, a few years ago, where I had to get new tires. And who wants to spend money on tires? That's the worst thing. But you have to. And it's a safety issue. And I had to buy tires for my car. And then that was it. The rest of the month, I was just saying no to everything.
Right.
Even sometimes I had to say no to a birthday party a kid was invited to because I just couldn't spare the money to buy a present. And so that's really where I was about a year ago. And I just knew that, like, if something was going to change, it wasn't going to fall in my lap. I had to be the change. And as an educator, in my profession, in my area of expertise, the main option is usually tutoring. I'll go back to tutoring. And as a single parent that's also sharing custody, I already felt like I didn't have enough time with my kids. And going to tutoring it meant more time away from my kids. And I wasn't really willing to sacrifice that. So it was me deciding, like, I'm not willing to sacrifice anymore. And there's no part of me, I don't have any entrepreneurs in my family. I'm not around entrepreneurs except for you. And there was no part of me that thought I'll become an entrepreneur. That's a good idea. But I happened to be using the products. I loved the Rodan and Fields products. The girl that I was buying from was also a teacher. And just in that moment of, I have to find something, but I don't want to sacrifice time away from my kids, I kind of had that just what if? What if I could do this? And I asked her two questions, it was absolutely not doing the due diligence that I should have done on the company. But I just said, ballpark, how much do you make a month? Because I wanted to know, can I match what I would make tutoring?
Yeah.
And B, how much time? I liked those answers and I went for it, like totally afraid. Like absolutely no part of me thought, oh, I'm going to kill it.
Yeah.
I just thought, what if I could do this? So really that's what got me started.
What were some of the moments like in the beginning? Because that is a big, like, now you're taking, it's your own business that you're running.
Yeah. And I didn't know what I was doing.
And you didn't know, right. You didn't know anything. Like, so what were like some of the scariest moments where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this right now, but you did it anyways?
Yeah. I think that, well, always it's like the fear of the unknown, when you don't know what you're getting into, there's that. But the thing with what I'm doing, and I think for a lot of entrepreneurs out there, it was the fear of putting myself out there and the fear of rejection. Like I felt like if I'm going to give this its fair shot, like I really need to put myself out there. And I was really afraid of what people were going to think. Because I do think, multi-level marketing and direct sales, there's still a negative stigma attached to it, which I do think is getting better and it's going away. And I think in 5 years, it's going to be a whole nother, everybody pretty much, most people are going to be exposed to it and either buying something or selling something. But now I still think there's a bit of a stigma. And I was afraid of what people were going to think. That was probably my biggest fear.
Yeah, of course. And you're totally, like you said, you're putting yourself out there. I want to talk in a little bit about, because I think you're just like so genius about how you do social media and telling story. But before we get there, when did you realize, holy shit, this is actually working?
Yeah. You know what? I have to say, I realized it pretty quickly because I put myself out there. Like I literally had in mind what I wanted to post on social media, and it was my own personal before and after of my hands. You've seen that picture.
Yes.
And one hand looked like an old lady hand. So I was like putting myself out there in that sense. But I held on to that idea. I knew what I wanted to do for like 2 weeks. And just this fear like held me back from doing it. And one day it was like right before the end of the month and in January of 2016. And I just made myself do it. I'm like, you have to push send. Just like like close your eyes and push it.
Yeah.
And I did it. And I got such incredible, like immediate feedback from that, like really positive. A lot of people were interested, like, hey, what is this? What are you doing? And when I did do this, and I know we'll talk about it more later, I attached my story to it. It wasn't just like a picture or a before and after. It was my story that was attached to it. And I think that that's what people really related to too. So I think that very quickly I started to find like not crazy success, but like a little bit of success. And it was enough that I wanted more. It was just enough that I was like, okay, I want to grow this bigger. Because like when I did start, it was really just for the paycheck summer. It was just like, I just want to be able to send my kids to camp. Like I wasn't looking to build a business.
Right.
But over the year, that has changed dramatically. Now I'm thriving off building this business and helping other people change their lives. Like it has changed my life completely. And I want to do that for other women and men now too.
Of course. Well, how let's talk about how it has changed your life in all areas. I mean, obviously you don't have to worry about the things that your kids want to do. And what about you personally?
Well, I think for me, the financial gains from this has really been about the kids and giving them those opportunities. But for me, I've gotten something far more valuable. It has been the most empowering experience and so surprising too, because being in education is such a gift. Like I get the feeling that I'm changing the world when I go to work, and that's like incredible. And I love that. And now there's this whole other side of me that's getting completely fulfilled, where I just have this powerful feeling of what I'm doing. And it's given me incredible confidence. And I actually think too, I'm just a better person now. Like I hold my head up higher. I interact with people because I do have in the back of my mind that kind of networking and making connections, which I think has always been my personality, but now that's like at the forefront of my mind all the time. But it makes me really happy. Yeah. I love it. I love meeting new people. I love making those connections. And I think my work has really brought that to the front of my personality and my interactions.
And I've watched such a change with you. And side note, obviously, I think you've posted some pictures of my skin as well.
Yes, I sure did.
And I'm just always like, it's so funny because I'll send you, I'll be getting ready in the morning or it's at night and I'll just be like, I'm taking a picture right now and I'm going to send it to Kelsey because wow. Because sometimes you don't realize that you have to take those before pictures. And I love how Rodan and Fields encourages you when you get your products. It says, take that before picture. So you do because it takes 2 seconds to do it. And then, a month later and then another month later and you're just like, holy cow. Yes. It's amazing. But
it
also
really does work. Yeah.
It does. And like you said, obviously things like that build your confidence. But for you, it's really amazing to see, how fulfilling it is because all of these women and the people using the products are just like it's emotional. It's emotional when you make such a change. Yeah. And you get to be a part of that. That's so cool.
It is really cool. And I honestly think too, and I can totally admit, when I got into it, I was like, it's just skincare. I really just thought it's just skincare. It works and it's awesome.
Yeah.
But like you just said, to see the confidence and I look in the mirror now and I'm really happy. And I know you are too. You look at your skin and you're like, wow, my skin looks great. That's the greatest feeling in the world. And it's for men too. I don't want to keep saying women, but I just think, women, especially women that work so hard and give so much, to invest in themselves, I think is worth $1 million.
Absolutely. So what about, some people that are listening, other women that are kind of in the position that you were in, where they're like, there's something I want to start, but I want to be at home with my kids. Either they're a stay-at-home mom or they want to supplement their income or they just want to, start something totally different and new. But they have, and I'm not trying to be, what's the word, offensive, but they have excuses. I mean, I know, I know plenty of people that are just like, but Like if it's
Yes.
like, oh, look what Kelsey's doing. Yeah, but she knows a lot of people. Or yeah, but
Yes.
I don't really have that time. I have a baby. Or there's always the but. There's always an
Yes.
excuse. And we can come
Yes.
up with a million excuses not to do anything, what do you say to those type people? Because I would imagine you hear those challenges a lot.
I do. I hear the yeah buts all the time. And, I kind of have a little bit of mixed feelings about it as well too. Like, I have some friends that have joined me in business, and I get a lot of excuses from them, and it's challenging for me because I know what this has done for my family, and I want it so badly for them too, but I want it more than they want it.
Yeah.
And, they're giving me excuses like, it's kind of always something like I'm busy, or it's someone's birthday, or it's this or it's that, or after this trip. And, after like a few months of that, you start to realize like, I can't want it for them. I can't work it for them. And I think that, but I also feel that there are a lot of people that if they did just let go of those excuses, they could be really successful. Like, and I think too, like a lot of what I hear is I don't have the time. I mean, we're all so busy. Like, we're so busy, and I don't have the time. And trust me, when I started this, time was not something I had either, at all.
Right.
I was already working a full-time job, 3 small children. But I think you have to kind of see the big picture. Like, this is not, yes, I'm putting time into it now. Yes, I absolutely am. But I'm doing this so I can have more time later. I'm doing this so I can have the financial freedom later. So you kind of have to think, big picture, like broaden your perspective a little bit and be willing to put in the work now to create the life that you want to create. And that's kind of leads me to what I would say. Well, like, why are you even considering this? Like, is there a change that you want to make in your life? Because that change is not going to happen for you. Like, you have to do something to make that change if you want the change. And then from there, if they can let go and give it a go. And I had less than $200 in my savings account when I started this business. I did not have the money to start a business, but I had belief. Like, I believed in myself and thought, what if I'm going to give it a go. So I joined on the $395, which you get a couple of regimens and some other products, which is great. And again, it's that really deep discount. And then if you just can't swing that at all, there's a $45 where you just get a business portfolio. It gets your website going, and you're good to go for $45, which there aren't many businesses out there that you can start for $45.
No, not at all. So let's talk a little bit about, how the compensation plan for Rodan and Fields is so powerful. Like, you were talking about how multi-level marketing has, a little bit of a stigma. And I agree with you. I think it's changing just because with it, entrepreneurship is growing all the time.
Absolutely.
And it gives people an opportunity, like you said, to do that for as little as $45, start a business. Yes. And, why do you think this plan is so powerful and has been so powerful for you?
Yeah. Well, I think that very unlike teaching, what appeals to me is, and I think this is just for most businesses in general, as an entrepreneur, the more time I put into it, the more I get back financially. And I think that's too, again, one of the reasons why I'm so drawn to this business is as an educator, I could work 10 times harder than the person next to me, be on every committee, present and everything. And we have a cap. I'm still making the same amount, that I would with minimal work or maximum work. There's no, financial compensation. So with this opportunity and this compensation plan with Rodan and Fields, I mean, it's pretty infinite. You can get as many people working under you as you want. And, their big thing is duplication. There's so much support and so many resources and so much modeling that helps you. So really, like, as I said before, I joined this with no business experience whatsoever. And there was enough support and enough out there that I learned and I grew and I ran my business as I learned, which was fantastic. And that's the thing too. I didn't join this thinking I was going to build a team. I literally was just like, I just want to replace my tutoring salary. Like that's it, and I could sell enough product to do that. But then it just began to grow. And I think building a team is actually probably my favorite part of this. I get to work with other really amazing, driven women. So
what are the things that you have learned in terms of building a team and really working together?
Well, I think one of the most important things is, and it's funny, it's the same as teaching, is modeling. Like if you model, what you want your team doing, like I can't ask them to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. So if I'm asking them to put themselves out there, if I'm asking them to do, this amount of reach outs a week, I better be doing the same thing. And I better be doing it visibly so they can see that it's happening. I think that also makes you more relatable. You can commiserate with them like, oh gosh, this person went dark, or, oh, this happened. And so I think number one, that's the biggest thing, is to be doing what you're asking your teammates to do as well. And I think too, just really creating that supportive, like letting people be vulnerable. And again, it goes back to modeling. If I'm vulnerable with them, they'll be vulnerable with me. It's, knowing that they have kind of like a safe place to turn when they have questions or frustrations and all of that. So I would say modeling is probably my number one thing for building that team that works closely together. We also try and do a lot of face-to-face. I mean, it's great that we have so many virtual options now. We do training calls when we have girls like all over California and a couple out of the state as well. We're able to see each other's faces like from technology, which is pretty nice.
Yeah. Love that. So, you had said that you got into the company and your first thought was, this is just skincare. It's just skincare.
Right.
Do you think you would have been as successful as you are today had you remained, this is just skincare? Or do you feel that really believing in the product, as I know you do, has contributed to that success?
Absolutely. I do not. I mean, if I had, and I don't, but to be honest, I don't think there's any way I could have stayed feeling like this is just skincare because of how many people this is, it's changed their lives, and seeing that, even with the people that are buying products, texting me like you do, and they'll thank me. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I love my skin and all of these things. Like I just couldn't, seeing how it's actually affecting their life. And then, in building the business and seeing how it's affecting the lives of the girls that I work with. There's no possible way I could have stayed that way. But I think had I stayed that way, just to be honest, I can't see it. It's been so life-changing. I just can't even fathom it.
Outside of the actual product, which obviously is amazing, what are some of the things about the business, about, with the Rodan and Fields, Dr. Rodan, Dr. Fields,
Correct,
what they have done with their business? What are some of the things that you're just like super proud of that makes you proud to be a part of it?
Well, I absolutely love their story, and I'm so inspired by them. And just the very tip of the iceberg is, they met at Stanford trained dermatologists. They became best friends. They went into practice in the Bay Area. They got together in the 90s to create Proactive, which I'm sure people listening if you were alive in the 90s, you've heard of Proactive.
Proactive, yep. And I think Guthrie Ranker ended up buying them. They're a client of ours, actually. So
cool. Yeah, they sure did. Yes. And so, and that was obviously, became $1 billion company. It's the largest acne system in the world. And they continued to practice, and in the early 2000s got together and said, we want to do what we did for acne for anti-aging. Which is brilliant, because when you think about it, everybody on the planet has skin and everybody's aging. Like you couldn't get a better, market.
Right.
And they went through tons of clinical trials. They created Rodan and Fields, and they actually put it into high-end department stores. They were in Saks, they were in Bloomies, they were in Nordstrom's, and they were doing really, really well. They were actually the number one skincare in Nordstrom's, which I don't even remember seeing it in Nordstrom's, to be honest. Yeah. But it was there a few years. They had actually partnered with Estee Lauder. And they saw that the economy was changing. They saw commerce was changing. They realized that more and more people were buying online. They realized that the people that were buying skincare, in Nordstrom's were not just like wandering around and the lady behind the counter was helping them. They were beelining towards the counter saying, I want the eye cream that my friend told me about. I want the, reverse regimen that my friend uses. Her skin looks amazing. It was all word of mouth. So they actually terminated their partnership with Estee Lauder. They pulled the products out of the department stores and went into the direct sales channel, which was a pretty risky move at the time. I want to say it was like 2008, 2009. It wasn't as big, or common as it is now. And I know a lot of people really kind of turned their nose up at the idea. And I'm just so impressed by their innovation and their confidence in their product. And then mostly it's the fact that they wanted to, yes, it's a smart business decision, don't get me wrong, but like the fact that they wanted to partner with us, with people, all these billion-dollar companies like Nike and Kate Spade and Tory Burch, like they're not offering this opportunity, so the fact that they chose to do this, I think is really inspiring. And I want to offer today that if anyone listening wanted to purchase any products, I was going to donate $20 to the Prescription for Change Foundation, and Rodan and Fields matches that. So it would really be a $40 donation, in anyone's name if they chose to purchase products. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Okay. So let's actually give them the link now, and we'll say it again towards the end of the show. And we'll also have this for those of you listening in the show notes and in the blog post, but let's, where can we send them to?
Okay. So my website is Holohan, spelled HOLOHAN.myrnf.com. So kholohan.myrnf.com is my website. And any purchases made from the website will be, I'll donate $20 to the Prescription for Change Foundation.
That is so awesome. So they can also go there if anyone's interested. Is that the same place to go to if they're interested in actually becoming a rep themselves?
That's correct. So there is a Become a Consultant tab. There's a Shop Skincare tab and a Become a Consultant tab. So you can go on there and also take a look at some of the options. But if anyone has any questions, feel free to contact me. We'll put my email address in as well in the notes, but it's Kelsey, Kelsey, Holo, HOLO @gmail. And I can always answer questions.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So cool. So let's kind of backtrack to earlier. We were talking about social media.
Yes.
And we do a fair amount of social media talk on this podcast because it's obviously so important. It's a really fast, easy way to share stories and to get people engaged and connected to one another.
Absolutely.
I'd love to talk about, a little bit more of what's your strategy? Do you have a strategy? Have you developed it over time? Like what I see you just kicking butt all the time. I'm seeing stuff and it's always inspiring. It's always exciting. There's such a great energy about what you put out there because it's not just, ads trying to get people to buy this or that. It's really you sharing and you getting excited about something, which I think is infectious for other people. And it makes people go, wait, I want to be a part of that. And then when you see all the engagement and all the people saying, oh my gosh, and I love this and that. And it's like, and then you go and you announce, there's a new product coming out. This is, and you get people all revved up about it. And then bam, people are just like private messaging you. I want it. So, that's like obviously the dream situation for any kind of service or product. So whoever's listening, whatever business you're in, let's talk about a little bit of that strategy because I see it working so well for you. And this is just I know that you have a private page, but this is just you as Kelsey on Facebook.
Yes. And I didn't start with any necessarily strategy in mind, but I've definitely learned what's worked. And so now that has become my strategy just to continue to duplicate what's working. And I think just in general in life, like I think relationships are just the most important thing, whether it's business, whether it's family, whether it's friends. There's nothing more important than relationships. And you can't build a business without relationships.
Absolutely.
And you can't build relationships without being authentic. And I think what's worked for me is when I just completely put myself out there as me. I'm not telling somebody else's story. I'm telling my story. And the good, the bad, and the ugly. You have to be willing to be vulnerable because that's relatable. I think that more people relate to me personally when I put myself out there, when I'm putting myself out there and being vulnerable and being like, oh my gosh, this happened today. Or, just telling my story in a way that's really open and honest. That's when I get people. When I'm doing the posts that are like, yay, look at me on my vacation in Cabo or whatever. Like, yeah, I have a lot of friends that are like, yay, great for you. But I don't think that's like really like hooking people in,
Right.
And so I think just that willingness to kind of tell your personal story and like get personal on social media, which again, can be scary. And I know people, you can think like, gosh, what are people going to think? But I think too, like, business wise also, when I've shared things like my own before and afters, which again, like when you take those before pictures, and Summer, I know you can attest to this, like when you're taking a close up bathroom lighting before picture of your skin, like you don't realize how bad it looked. You look at that picture and you're like, oh my God, like, oh, I knew I had some sun damage, but I didn't think it was that bad. So again, kind of being willing to put that out there too. And so I think too, for me, what's really been working is for business, if I put a before and after, telling my story. Like when I put my sun damage face out there, I'm telling them how I grew up in San Diego playing soccer. Like I wear sunblock, but it's just not enough anymore. And making it that story. And I actually watched a training one time that I thought was really interesting. Someone said, go back and look at your Facebook page, like look at your homepage and just scroll through. Do you have a balance? Are you balanced with your posting? Are you, like you said, is it all ads, like trying to get people to buy something? Or is it all personal and you don't have enough in there? Because when you post on Facebook, a very small percentage of your followers see it. So if you're not posting often and consistently, people aren't, they just aren't seeing it. And is it interesting? Like if you're looking back at your personal page, is it a channel you would want to follow? Like if you're watching TV and this was on TV,
that's great.
Would it like catch your interest enough that you would actually follow, or would you change the channel? So every once in a while I go back to my feed and I'm like, have I been vomiting Rodan and Fields? Have I been, and I try and like check myself and make sure that it's a balance and it's a story and it's interesting.
And the other thing too is, people are so addicted to transformation because it's awesome to see that. But it's also, and you show those stories, with your own skincare, with, customers' skin transformations. But even beyond that is the lifestyle too. And you tell the story of that transformation, and there is that story. There is that interesting, like, hey, 2 years ago, I wouldn't be on this vacation right now, or I'm able to do this now and I'm able to work here. I think you were just in Cabo, and it's like, here I am working on the beach in Cabo, and people are like, wait a minute, I want that, and the thing is it's all 1000% true, authentic Kelsey and your experience. And people love that. It's not the hokey, here I am in my Lamborghini.
Exactly.
Yesterday I had a Honda Civic. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting about that too, though, is and I do know this post work. I actually have a couple of girls that joined me in business that said, I saw that and I wanted that, but I couldn't do that in the beginning. Like you said, that wouldn't have been authentic for me to post something like that, like in my first few months of business. Because that just wasn't the kind of money that I was making at that time, but trying to find something like that, you know what I mean? So maybe it was, I took my kids out to the movies because, any teen, you have kids, like when you take them to the movies, all of them, it's really expensive.
Right.
Like just the little things. So maybe at that point in the beginning of my business, it was, yay, like I'm so glad I'm able to take the kids to the movies and not sweat about it at the end of the month. And that was authentic and real and being able to share those little stories. So it doesn't It's great when it's something big and flashy and beautiful, but it doesn't have to be that either.
No, because it's the simple, and that's the thing is like people are following you along that journey, which is so great, where it's, first it is the movie, it's the camps, it's now I'm on vacation, now I'm doing this, now I'm doing that, and it's just, it's the excitement and gratitude that you have for it. That's so great. And I love too, I will say this, this is a company that really allows you to just be authentic and say what it is that you're doing. So, there's my plug right there, because I just appreciate that, because I myself have been turned off where I'm like, oh, that's an interesting transformation, or that's cool what this person posted, but wait, I can't just like it. I have to actually kind of go out of my way to find out more. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm more interested in finding out more when you've been transparent. You know what I mean?
Yes, I totally agree. And I actually had a conversation with someone the other day, and it was actually regarding like getting school news. But we were saying it's like that extra click. Like it turns so many people off.
It does.
You just have to do that one extra step. You're like, no, I'm too busy. I can't. Or I'll do it later, and then you never get back to it. So
I mean, everything's so fast paced today, and people are in that instant gratification mode. And how can you blame them when things are, with technology, things are made to be simple and fast, and we look for that. So it's the faster you can give people the information. It's like, you see that picture, you're excited, tell me why. Now I'm going to spend more time. Now you've hooked me. Now I want to spend more time on finding out more.
Exactly. And that's the perfect word too. It's the hook, just getting people hooked in and finding out more. So, and I do feel very fortunate that I do have the brand recognition too. I mean, not everybody has heard of Rodan and Fields, but everybody's heard of Proactive, So it's been quite an exciting and explosive journey, and one that's been really excited. Like you said, like I'm really proud to be a part of this company. Like if I had to pick like any company, I'm so glad that this is the one that I have that what if,
Exactly. I love it so much, and I love how, you do have to, I think another big takeaway from all of this is that you have to put in the time, but what's beautiful and what I'm hearing is that everyone has the same 24 hours, and everyone, will say, oh my gosh, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. But we all choose where our time goes, whether it's to be with family, whether it's, to do this 9-to-5 job, whatever it is, we are making the choice every day to spend that time. And how awesome is it if what you are spending your time doing is really enjoyable? So when people say, oh, I don't have time to do this, I don't have time to do that, it's like, well, do what it is that you really want to do. And I can already see it when you're working your business. It's not like you're going, oh my gosh, I have all this stuff to do and I can't wait to be done. You're actually enjoying what you're doing. So when you think of time that way, it's like, you're engaged rather than busy,
Absolutely. Like you have to have discipline. You have to have discipline because you don't have a boss hanging over you saying or clocking in or anything. Like you have to have discipline, but it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
It's when you're building your own business and you're reaping the benefits of that business. And the more you put in, the more you get out. It doesn't feel like work. You have to have discipline. You have to be consistent, but it's pretty, it's just fun. I have a lot of fun, and I've met so many people. Like I seriously, it sounds so cheesy, but I have a couple girls. There's one in New York and there's one in North Carolina that I've never met in person, but they're like my total besties now. Just through this business, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, oh, I adore you. You're and I was just really, I love that piece of it too. It's just kind of the networking, and it is predominantly women. There are some very successful men in this business too. But just kind of like it feels like I've joined this like later in life sorority of super supportive, successful, like smart women. Like the girls that are really successful at this are doctors and like they already have these like big, jobs coming in and to this. And I love being around that.
So awesome. And so great to like feed off of, all of this great energy and inspiring women.
Constantly learning and growing. You know, that's my happy place. Constantly learning and growing.
That's how you get to stay fulfilled. And you're also obviously helping, it's so great to be a part of a company that's helping other causes as well.
Yes, for sure.
Well, my beautiful friend Kelsey, this has been so awesome. I want to make sure. I know. I want to say that website again. And of course, you can click on it directly in the blog post and in the show notes. But K Holohan, KHOLOHAN.myRandF.com. So that's R and is spelled out. And that's where you can get information on Kelsey, and her email is KELSEYHOLO@gmail.com. Again, we'll have that in the show notes. This has been so inspiring, so incredible, and
so fun.
Yes, and so much fun. So thank you, Kelsey.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for thinking of me. This was awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to today's Get Genius. You can learn more about The Draw Shop at www.thedrawshop.com, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Your home for kick-butt custom whiteboard marketing videos. Your ideas come to life. Thanks for listening. Please share, comment, and make any suggestions for future Genius guests.